What's up, guys? This is Jesse here with Max Level Gaming, and we are with Zach, who just top 8'd with his Viserai deck at the Sapphire City Skirmish event that we just had. It was a Blitz deck event, and he brought a deck that not a lot of people were expecting, and ended up only losing to the person who had won, which was playing Dorinthia. So let's get into the deck and see what he's got to say about it.
Sure, guys. So overall, it's kind of an interesting mid-range deck. It really focuses on not just attacking every turn, but making sure you are generating and ending with rune chants every turn. So some key things here is balancing your attack and non-attack actions. We are running 17 attack and 17 non-attack actions, and some key cards for that are going to be Sonata, which is new from Monarch. It was kind of a weird dilemma I had run into for a long time, where in Blitz you only get 40 cards, and I really like playing Toma Fyendal. It is so powerful to either play Time Skipper or Mage Master Boots to give it go again. Essentially, gaining an extra action point with Time Skipper, actually giving it go again with Mage Master Boots, but being able to draw two and then keep the pressure on. Sonata was a really great kind of filler because it had the built-in go again, which means these one-use boots didn't matter because I could still save it for Tome and I can still get the effect off Sonata. It's even better when you get both of these for crazy wild turns. Sonata, for those who don't know, you reveal X plus 3 cards. For X revealed, it's going to be XX cost. So if you pay 2, you're actually going to reveal 4 cards because you have to pay X twice. But even with that, basically you reveal 4 cards, and then if 2 non-attack actions are revealed and 2 attack actions are revealed, you draw the 2 attack actions, and then that deals 2 arcane damage to your opponent, which can be really powerful late game, especially if you don't see the Sonata and you build up like 12 plus rune chants. You could crack something like your Bloodsheath Skeleta and then just straight up pay for a super expensive Sonata, dig through your entire deck, deal a bunch of arcane damage your opponent isn't ready for, and it has go again. So some other key pieces here, it runs 17 attack actions, 17 non-attack actions. It does have a couple reactions, and I found this very important for the heavy Dorinthia and Ira meta at the moment. It's running 2 Pummel, and it's running 4 of the reduced to rune chants. So we've got 2 Pummel, 2 red reduce, and then we've got 2 yellow reduce. So these are a blessing and a curse. It almost feels like a necessity in the current meta, but given the fact that Dorinthia and Ira are still out there, they're still running rampant with all the latest skirmishes, it's just good to be able on the defensive side and the offensive side take charge, because fighting for tempo and blitz is super important. Pummel by itself takes games. People don't expect it, especially in the Viserai matchup. It is a balancing act because you have other things like Vexing Malice that are a 1 cost, which is not going to trigger off of Pummel, so you have to be careful of things like that. There is only 1 yellow Vexing Malice and 2 blue Vexing Malice, but just something to watch out for overall. And then the reduce the rune chant is just a solid play. You're able to defend for free as long as you have 1 rune chant, so 4 and 3 extra defense when you're fighting Dorinthia for that reaction game. It's becoming more and more relevant to be aware of not just how many resources are available, like floating for your opponent, but how many cards are in hand, what's an arsenal. They could add anything to that attack, so you gotta be prepared for that.
Yeah.
And then the last thing here that I touch on is just some of the really big combo pieces. Rattlebones and Mordred-Tide are just super killer. I mean, they've been here since Crew and Arcane Rising, but it just really helps out being able to play Mordred-Tide go again, get a big turn with like Maverin Skies, giving your next attack actions go again, and each time you're playing a Runeblade card, you're going to generate more rune chants because of Mordred-Tide. So it's just it's a really interesting balancing act. There's a ton of different play lines. I don't even think we'd really be able to scratch the surface on everything that's available with this kind of time.
It definitely catches people off too.
For sure.
Especially a lot of newer players into the game. A couple of my friends are just learning, getting deep into an event, having the TCG knowledge, and then coming up against a deck like this that isn't represented as often. at least in
Yeah.
like the newer meta, is really interesting. So like, what made you decide to play Viserai for this
So
tournament?
it's funny you touch on that. One of the funny reasons why I chose this specifically, one, I've been playing since December, and I just loved Viserai. I wanted to make it work.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, I was just playing OTK because that's what was known. I didn't know enough about the game. I was net decking. I was just testing it out. But after a while, I started playing it a lot more and really getting into like figuring out what the meta is, how can I possibly counter that. And I eventually came up with a deck that took second in the Darkhold Skirmish. It was an OTK Viserai build that focused mostly with 17 defense reactions. I think I went through like 5 Dorinthias, 2 Kasai, and an Ira. But just being able to battle them for that tempo and being able to afford that back and forth.
Yeah, learning how to do that too, and what to expect out of every deck. So throughout this tournament, obviously, I mean, I guess I know the answer to this question because it was your only loss for the day, but what was your hardest matchup
Yeah, for sure.
going forward?
Well, you know, it's funny because even though I lost, Dan's a good buddy of mine. He played Dorinthia today. 2 weeks ago, we actually played another match. He was ranked Kasai against my Viserai. I got him down to 1, ended up losing out in the reaction battle, which caused a couple more changes for today. But yeah, that was definitely a hard matchup. It was really, in my opinion, it was only really difficult because I had a really bad opening, which can happen. I mean, if you're running 17 and 17 on attack and non-attack actions, you can get flooded with a non-attack action hand going first, which feels bad.
For sure.
So it was definitely a really hard battle to like regain tempo the entire time, but it was still a really close game. I love playing against him. I would say another really difficult matchup that still exists for Viserai is Kano. The wizard matchup's just weird because you want to run as many null rune as you can, and I run 14 blues in this list, which does help, but overall you're still fighting them for being able to afford that tempo cost. I still run Bloodsheath Skeleton in most of my wizard matchups. Kind of depends, I guess, on how I'm feeling with how I've been playing, but overall I would say like that is the way to win against wizard is your 3 null rune Bloodsheath Skeleton. You're just hitting them back and forth, they're pinging you the whole time, and then you go for your big combo turn once you can afford that.
So I guess my one last question before we get into actually looking at the exact deck profile is, would you have any advice on playing this character to somebody who's just getting started, like maybe something mechanically or something to keep in the back of your head while you're learning the game and like trying to get better?
Yeah, for sure.
With this character?
I would say overall, regardless of who you want to play, getting matches in is going to be more important because your local meta might be different than my personal local meta. And with a Blitz deck, you only have 40 cards, you have 11 equipment slots, but like that's it. You have no real sideboard, so I have to build this deck with a ton of different heroes in mind, a ton of different classes in mind. You're not going to just auto
you
win
can't
anything.
cater it to your local, because then when you go to an event and you play decks that are just as relevant but people just happen to not be playing them, you could have a real bad time.
For sure. So for me, like I've been playing this deck, Viserai specifically, I've been playing since December. I've played over 500 matches, just to put that in the scope.
That's insane.
I've played multiple skirmishes. I won the Gift of Game skirmish. I got second in the Darkhold skirmish. I've top 8'd plenty of times. And that's not to like detract from anyone or intimidate anyone on like the level that you need to be. It's just to encourage you to know like it really, in this game, it is so well balanced. It doesn't matter as much as if I'm playing a hero that's lower on the tier list in terms of like, I don't have a sweet Dawn Blade that I can gain counters and get sweet tempo with. But I have other things that I can excel at that they can't. And I think you learning how to not just hone in and focus on that, but learning how to utilize that to your advantage in every hero matchup is way more important than anything else. It's a really great time to be in card games as a whole. Being able to go on Discord and play anyone online all over the world.
It's crazy what that's grown into over the past year or so. Online tournaments have become relevant and almost official at this point.
Yeah, it's a really cool format. Blitz, I know a lot of people will also talk down about it. It's like Classic Constructed is the, what Flesh and Blood was meant to be, how it's played. And
I personally enjoy it more, in my opinion. But
I love both. You have to realize, like, all right, I only have 20 health. I only have this much.
Yeah, you have to play a whole different way.
Exactly. And
But,
honing that in.
Yeah, let's get into taking a look at this final deck list. And if there's any comments that you want to make, I'm going to take a picture and put this into the comments so that, and if anybody wants to copy it and do a little practicing and learn the hero, then they'll have an easy way to do so. But I appreciate it very much, Zach, for doing this deck profile and bringing this deck that we don't normally see and having such a success and explaining it to us. So thank you very much once again.
For sure.
And
Thanks
that's
for having me.
Jesse signing out. Peace out. Bye.